Hello, everybody. This is Spiritual DAO channel, and we do a lot of things here and meet a lot of people. They tell us a lot of things. And in this special series that we're doing here, uh, I'm going to introduce you to a lot of them and a lot of other spiritual seekers, gurus, people who are very interesting to talk to and have done some amazing things in their lives. Uh, and one of them being Rohil Jethmalani, who is a yogi. He's a yoga teacher, and he does a lot of things besides that. More importantly, on our Spiritual Tao channel, he is a yoga teacher. He's a yoga guru who's taking yoga sessions, and these are extensive, well detailed, well ordered YouTube videos. So I'll totally recommend you to go watch them. And I want to also start with that as a conversation. Rohil, you've done around 5 videos already that are there on the channel. How are you enjoying them?
So I'm enjoying making content as it's something new for me because I started only with the pandemic. Before that, I was mainly teaching in person. So I was teaching in yoga teacher trainings in Bali.
Hmm.
So people would come who want to become yoga teachers and get trained. But actually, since the pandemic, there's been a huge boom in the online yoga, online meditation, so many different apps and platforms that are coming up. So yeah, I've had a lot of work with recording and I enjoy doing it. I think each time I learn a little bit better how to do it and so on. So it's a constant process of exploration and learning.
Super. When did this begin for you, this journey in the world of yoga?
So journey in the world of yoga, I would say it started in childhood. My mother was and is very much into yoga, and so we had a teacher who used to come home, and she and few of her friends used to do yoga in the house. And she used to keep, whenever I was at home, she used to keep pulling me, saying, "Come, do sit for 10 minutes in meditation." At the time, of course, I didn't understand what it was, what is this practice really. But I would say about 10 years ago is when I discovered this practice really for myself, when I started to explore it on my own. Of course, the background from childhood, it sort of came quickly. I could quickly get into it. And yeah, since the past 10 years, I've been practicing yoga, living yoga, teaching yoga. So a lot of my life is now centered around yoga, and I love it. Yeah.
I loved what you said about you realized the power of it and you started enjoying it when it came from within. When you decided for yourself that you want to do it, though you were being taught and sometimes even as a child pulled into those sessions. Uh, let's talk about because it is something that has to come from within. And once somebody decides or wishes that they want to do it, they want to probably get on this path. What is the right way to begin?
I think it's there's no right way as such to begin. I think every one of us comes from very different backgrounds, different lifestyles, different career, work, ambitions, and so on. So different parts of yoga or different you can say ways of approaching yoga is relatable to different people. So
Hmm.
some people like more bhakti yoga, some people like more Raja yoga, some people like to do the asana more, some the meditation more. I think it really depends what is needed in the person's life at that moment and them becoming aware of that. So if they find that, for instance, their mind is scattered, they're anxious, or they are very stressed, more maybe a lesser amount of movement practice, asana, and more of meditation might suit them. Whereas if somebody is younger or has a lot of health issues, an asana practice might. But I think, like you said, what is the most important thing to begin? I think is a strong commitment. This is often um, ignored, but the most important aspect of developing any practice, and in yoga practice particularly, is strong commitment or strong intention, sankalp, to keep practicing. So in the beginning, for the first at least 2 to 3 months, we must really make it a daily practice, whatever we start, whether we start asana, whether we start pranayam, whether we start meditation, dhyan, it should be a daily practice for the first few months.
Right. But one can start with anything basis who they are, what they want to achieve with the practice of yoga.
I believe so because I think that if you start with a there's a traditional method with which how you start. For instance, in the traditional way, you will always start with seva. So the first few months of your yoga practice is about seva. It's about serving others. It's about humbling your own ego, putting the needs of others before your own needs. And so you would live a kind of renounced life, maybe go to an ashram, not think about work, about making money, and so on. What happens today is that a lot of people don't have that much time. It also takes a lot of commitment to take out. And many people don't really understand what seva is. They do it just for the sake of doing the seva, but not with the true intention of really doing a selfless service. So I think that some preparation is needed before that as well. And that preparation is, it can be any of the practices which are found in yoga that the individual is drawn towards. Because ultimately, if you force somebody to do asana and they hate to move, they don't like to do any form of physical movement, um, they are just going to stop doing it after a while. They're going to find it too difficult. Or if you make somebody do meditation and they just want to do asana and they want to get fitter, but they have a restless mind and cannot sit still, then they're going to do it for a few days and leave it. So I think the most important thing for somebody starting out is that they really stay with whatever that it is that they are practicing for some time to see the benefits. So I would say whatever calls out to the person. If chanting calls out to you, if I don't know, like dancing meditation nowadays, there's so many different types of meditation as well. Whatever calls out to you to give you that initial pull into the practice.
Yeah. Uh, and you rightly mentioned there's so many different types of yoga practices and ways of doing yoga, which is a good thing, but sometimes for a person who's just starting their journey can get confusing at times. Which one to go for? How do you tackle that if somebody comes to you with a question, or how would you advise them to decide for themselves which yoga practice they should go for?
So I think that we must, at least most of us, like to explore all the different things before we settle on something. So if you are deciding which place in the world I want to stay in, or which part of India I want to settle down in, what kind of work I want to do, it's very rare that you will straight away after finishing your university say this is the job I want and I'm going to stick with it my entire life. You need to explore a little bit, see how it feels to do different kinds of things, and then you sort of start to understand what is your path. Of course, there are some people who find it straight away, but I think it's the same way with your spiritual practice as well, that there is some exploration is needed, but at the same time, how we explore is important. So I think that many people get stuck in going very, very shallow in each of the practices. So they go for a yoga class here in this studio, go for another kind of class in that studio, go for a workshop here, workshop there, and they don't really understand any practice in any form of depth. So they just scratch the surface of everything, and then they don't really know what it is that they have scratched the surface of.
Right.
So I would always advise is that pick one practice initially that you feel called out to and do it for a period of 2 to 3 months. Try not to mix too many things along with it. Just do that one practice for 2 to 3 months. See how it makes you feel, observe what are the changes happening in your life, and so on. And after that 2 3 months, pick another practice if you feel like exploring more and stick with it for a couple of months. So you explore in like um, you give it some time. Each method, each technique has to be given a fair trial, so to speak. So if without giving that technique a fair trial, we haven't really explored it. So we have to let the technique work for us, and that requires a few weeks, a couple of months at least.
Give it some time. A lot of people say this is not working for me. Most of the things I believe work as long as we do, as long as we spend that amount of time. And I think you've stated it very clearly and uh, very beautifully that give it that due time that it deserves, and then you make up your mind that if it is for you or not. Don't just scratch the surface and make up your mind. Royal, I want to ask you about the word yog means union, which means it's more than one thing. What are those important elements that yog is made of? What are those things that we should consider before we get into the practice?
So many people tend to see yoga or yoga as union between the soul and the universe, or the soul and Brahman, or the mind, body, soul, and so on. But actually, if you read interestingly into Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Patanjali lived around 2,500 years ago, around the same time as the Buddha. And in the Yoga Sutras, in the second sutra, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which basically means that yoga, he defines what yoga is. So he says yoga is the process of calming the fluctuations of the mind. So this union is a process. It's not. It's something that comes from calming the fluctuations of the mind. And what that union then becomes, and is coming to the first sutra, which is Atha Yoga Anushasanam, the process or the transmission of yoga is can only happen in the now, in the present moment.
Hmm.
And so this union is when we bring our scattered awareness. So we have some parts of our awareness which are stuck in the past. It is thinking about memories and maybe regrets and so on. It's stuck in thinking about the past. We
Hmm.
have some parts of our awareness thinking about the future, planning what we want to do tomorrow and so on, what kind of job, how I can do this, how I can do that, and so on.
Right.
We also have some part of our awareness that is craving, that is raga. So there's craving, we want more, we want things, we are desiring, whether it's a desire for sex, it's a desire for more money, whatever it is. There's a part of the awareness that is caught up in desire. There is a part of the awareness that is caught up in dvesha, which is aversion, which is pushing away what is in the present moment. Maybe there's sadness, some difficult emotions. So we don't want that. We are trying to distract ourselves from that. So all of these uh, are, you can see that our awareness is kind of split in multiple directions. Our
Hmm.
awareness is split up. And what is this union? What is this yoga or yoga? Is this bringing these fractured pieces of our awareness and uniting them into the present moment.
Hmm.
So this is actually what I would say is the definition of yoga, is bringing our awareness. So some parts of our awareness are stuck in our identifications. We
Hmm.
identify strongly with our own thoughts, our own belief systems, and so there's some awareness wrapped around that as well. But our identity, our who we are, is much more than simply our belief systems, the country we belong to, the and so on and so forth. It's much grander than that. And that yoga is that process of bringing our identification only with the soul, which is the essence of the soul is silence, or it's found in the present moment.
Right. And this thing that you said about our awareness being fragmented into many different parts, I think it holds true for most of the people. I'm sure when Patanjali wrote his wise words 2,500 years ago, it was true, but I think it can't be truer than right now when we have so many distractions to, everybody wants a piece of our attention, our awareness, and our time, including this device that we carry around with us all the time, uh, needs most of our attention. How do we make sure that, we unite all these things, all these pieces together? Are there any things that you could suggest to any typical corporate employee or a modern city dweller uh, that these are the things that we can do, small practices where we can start by gathering those pieces from here and there.
So our I mean, I think it's a very long path towards bringing this kind of presence where we collect all our fractured awareness. And some might argue, but in this moment, I can be aware of the present moment. But what we don't understand is that actually the subconscious mind, underneath the surface level of our mind, at the depth level, there's a storm. There are so many kind of cravings, aversions, future-based thinking, past-based thinking. There's a storm, and anybody who would do any very intensive practice, some spiritual practice, whether it's doing 10 days in silence of meditation. Sometimes these states can be brought about by consuming certain substances and so on. Is that the subconscious mind, it comes up, and then you suddenly see all this chaos in the subconscious mind happening all the time. We're just not aware of it. We are reacting to things in so many different ways. So I think one of the ways is to start to understand the reactions that we are having to things around us, and this through, initially it can be through a small meditation practice, 2 minutes or 5 minutes, trying to find very intense emotions that we feel. So if somebody is in the corporate world, different people will have different triggers or different emotions that they feel, which where they feel out of control. Some might feel extreme stress. Some might feel extreme rush, wanting to run, constantly complete, have 10 to-do lists. They finish the to-do list and they're still, even after that, in this rush. And then you have some who maybe are experiencing extreme anger. So first finding out what is it in one's personal life that is really causing this agitation. It's causing agitation not only at the depth level of the mind, which is there for all of us, but also at the surface level. We are also in our conscious day-to-day living. When we are conscious, we are also agitated. What
Right.
is that? What is causing that agitation? And
Mm.
whenever we experience that agitation, just making it a point to meditate for a few minutes. For instance, say somebody is constantly on the rush, constantly on the move. When they don't have anything to do, they're restless, they're swiping through social media and so on, or replying to messages, calling people. They're trying to keep track of two conversations at once, or even at a party they can't relax, they are always moving around. So somebody like this notices that this rush is causing agitation. So
Yes.
whenever they experience this from inside, this feeling of being rushed, they should just meditate for just 2 minutes. Just observe what is the how am I feeling in the body right now? What is the sensation that is arising? And through that we can change these kind of habit patterns of the mind. So I would say, instead of trying to jump into doing 1 hour of meditation in the morning, I would say it's more effective initially to just do 2 minutes of meditation in these critical moments when they are the most needed. When
Yeah.
you feel very angry and you feel like shouting at somebody, maybe you are a boss and you're shouting at your employees and so on. That 2 minutes, just go into your office and meditate and then come out and react. So I
Right.
think that is really important.
Brilliant. How you explained it. Observe yourself, understand the situation you're in, meditate for a while. I'm sure you'll come back a better person on the other side of it. This is just the beginning of a series of conversations that we're starting here. Rohil, though this short amount of time that we had for this is not enough, but I would like to take a promise from you that you'll come back on the show again, apart from all the yoga sessions that you're giving us.
Yes, definitely. I would love to. I enjoy to speak about these topics as they're close to my heart. So anytime you are up for it, I'm up for it.
Superb. So there are a lot of things that you have told and mentioned here in this conversation that I want to dive deep into, because each one of those things and concepts is something that you can learn about all your life. So uh, for everyone who's watching this, um, anytime in the future, I just want to tell you that please put your comments and questions, if at all, under this video in the comment section. We'll have a look at them, and I'll have Rohil back on the show to answer all of them for you and more. We're going to make this a practice apart from the yoga sessions that he's doing on our channel already. Do have a look at them. Start from the session 1. That's, I think, the way to go about it. And of course, whenever you have a question, just hit me up and I will bring Rohil back. Rohil, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything that you want to say to anyone who's joining us in these conversations and joining you on those yoga sessions?
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. And I would like to say that just anybody who's starting with the practice, beginning with their yoga journey, I would say that initially there are there's a lot of friction that can come up because we are coming out of our old habit patterns, old addictions, and ways of being and comforts and so on. And it might seem like nothing is really working. It's, this practice is useless and so on. But like I've been iterating throughout the video, just make a commitment, and that is the most important thing you can do for your own yoga journey.
Super, super. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.